Hello, sports fans, and welcome back to Sports on the Spot. My name is Willie Charger, also known as the Professor, and I'm joined here by Nick James, and later on, our very own Ronnie, who's going to talk a little bit about the betting side of sports. Nick, I wanted to start the show this afternoon by talking about NFL quarterbacks. The big news, of course, coming out of Dallas this week was the Cowboys signing of Dak Prescott to a 4-year, $160 million contract. $126 million of that guaranteed. He gets $66 million signing bonus. We talked about this last week. We weren't going to say for sure if JJ was going to be able to pull the trigger on the deal, but it looks like Jerry Jones came through and he's got Dak locked up with the Cowboys for the next 4 years. Nick, the big question is, does this mean the Cowboys are now going to win the Super Bowl within the next 4 years? You got high expectations. Will they yield high results?
I mean, they have a chance to be division leaders. Washington's without a quarterback right now. The Giants have Daniel Jones. They're still figuring out Hurts in Philadelphia. So right now they're looking like the team to pose the most threat from that division. But I don't really think they're going to be in that running. Maybe win a playoff game, wild card round, kind of a third, fourth seed entry. I don't think they're going to be leading the NFC with the Buccaneers and the Packers still hot off of last season. I mean, in the beginning of last season, there's great chemistry with his receivers. CeeDee Lamb and even Michael Gallup kind of fell off when Dak went out. And you saw how bad of a team they were when he was out. I don't know if they just gave up. Zeke wasn't the same. So I think there'll be a high-powered offense. It's really going to depend on that defense. And they'll look good in the season because they're going to play their bad division teammates 6 times, but I don't think it's going to mean much in the playoffs.
Agreed. JJ is going to have to spend some money to shore up that defense if the Cowboys want to go anywhere this upcoming season. Another NFC East quarterback who was in the news this week was Alex Smith, who was unceremoniously dumped by the Washington football team. Smith, as many people know, came back this season after a horrendous leg injury that he'd suffered, and many saw his story as being somewhat heroic. But now it looks like there's different news coming out of Washington. You got anything to give us on that story, Nick?
Well, Ron Rivera is talking to reporters saying he would have felt terrible if Smith got hurt again. If he would have felt terrible, then he shouldn't have played him last season and not use that as an excuse now to why they cut him. I mean, it was convenient then, and now it's not. Yeah, maybe he's not the best option, but just say it. I don't know if it was the best place for him to stay either. They're in a rebuild, clearly. They have a good defense. Again, they won the division last year, but weren't they 7-9 or something like that, losing record. So it's not going to be a whole lot better this year, especially with healthy Dak. But I think that Alex Smith just needs to go to a team like the Bears where they have kind of a quarterback competition open. Let him go prove himself, or go back up a young quarterback like Sam Darnold or Tua and be a mentor. I don't know if he wants that mentorship role after the whole Kaepernick fiasco and then Mahomes, and he's been moving around. So it'll be, I don't know if he's starting, but he can contribute either in the locker room or as a backup.
Well, with Smith out, I don't know who the quarterback in Washington's going to be. They must be really high on this guy, Heineke. I don't know. Heineke. We'll see what happens in Washington. And the Philadelphia, of course, Eagles quarterback situation is also in flux. It looks like Jalen Hurts is now in after Carson Wentz got shipped out. Now, you got 2 other unhappy quarterbacks that have been making news in the NFL recently. In Houston, you've got Deshaun Watson, who continues to insist he wants out of Texas, and also Russell Wilson, who apparently is not too happy in Seattle, and he's listed the Saints, the Raiders, the Bears as teams that he would waive his no-clause contract on. Can you give us any insights on what's happening with those 2 unhappy quarterbacks?
Well, Deshaun has a lot more leverage than I think the organization's giving him. Yeah, they could just say he's our only quarterback. He's our quarterback. He's not going anywhere. They can say all the right things, and if he doesn't want to play, he doesn't have to play. And he's losing money, but so are they. And they're going to be losing a lot of credibility with their team and fans. At this point, I don't know if it's salvageable. I think you just move on. And Russell Wilson, it doesn't seem as a dramatic exodus as Deshaun Watson's trying to do. He's trying to have that LeBron James power move play where he's coordinating where he goes, or the James Harden power play, that stuff you're seeing in the NBA where these players are disgruntled with 2-3 years left on their deal and forcing their way out. Deshaun Watson is bringing that to the NFL, and rightfully so. I mean, I wouldn't be happy on that team either, but it looks like they're having a lot of trouble trying to retain him, and he's having a lot of trouble trying to leave. And yeah, Russ, again, a little less dramatic of a situation. I think it's he's only going to go somewhere that can compete. I don't think he's just going to get out of there and go play for some bad team. And he'll obviously make any team better. So it's kind of, where does he want to go, and where are the Seahawks willing to trade him? Because if they're going to trade him to this, or let him go to the Saints, and then they have to play him in the playoffs, I mean, that's not going to be good for them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We'll see what happens there. Money is definitely going to be a factor in all of these deals that are coming down in the NFL. And it looks like the salary cap actually has gone down in the NFL for the first time in quite a while. What does that mean as far as free agency and the upcoming college draft mean? What does that
well,
mean?
it went down about $15 million, and it's, again, like you said, the lowest it's been in a long time. And that's like a pretty good player's salary right there. You see teams like the Saints dropping Janoris Jenkins, who's making their team better on defense. You see the Panthers restructuring McCaffrey's contract, which at least they're not cutting him, but you're seeing this ripple effect all across the league. Big Ben was already restructuring his contract to salary cap issues with the Steelers, and now this gets dropped on him. You saw how bad the Chiefs were without their tackles in the Super Bowl, and here we go. Eric Fisher's gone.
Eric Fisher's gone. Yeah.
And here Mahomes is the highest paid player in the league, and now you can't build anything around him. So you might start seeing a few different kind of deals. You might see some players taking cuts just to play because they're probably worth what they're being paid, but with this salary cap structure, which everyone agreed on, I mean, I think the NFLPA could have done a better job helping them with that. But now you have these guys that are going to be out of work because they're worth too much, and now they're going to be devalued. It's a crazy time, but now all these big quarterback contracts. Russell Wilson recently, one of the top paid quarterbacks. It's just always the next guy kind of thing. It's a rotation. So we're putting all our money into this one player, and now we can't build around him. So Pat Mahomes might get away with it, but even with that offensive line, it might be really hard.
It's definitely going to be hard without the offensive line. Well, thanks for that, Nick. Well, we've now reached the part of the show where we have to say goodbye to everybody. I wanted to thank everybody once more for tuning in, and to remind you all to subscribe and like, even comment on our show if you have an opportunity. Remember also that Sports on the Spot questions can be submitted to the Sports on the Spot show at gmail.com, or else you can just ask your questions in the comment section of our YouTube channel. Otherwise, that's going to be it for today's episode. Thanks for viewing once again, and we'll see you all soon.
Unbelievable.